Biden's EPA is pushing new energy regulations on power plants that would limit carbon emissions on coal and gas by up to 90%. Democrat Senator Joe Manchin says it's a move designed to regulate coal and gas-fueled power plants out of existence.
Quote, the pending EPA proposal would impact nearly all fossil-fueled power plants in the United States, which generate about 60% of our electricity without an adequate plan to replace the lost baseload generation. Larry Behrens is the spokesman for the energy advocacy group Power the Future, and Larry joins us now. Larry, is a 90% reduction even possible without absolutely crippling the grid?
No, it's not possible without crippling the grid. It's not possible without skyrocketing bills on American struggling families. You know, we're already struggling with high energy prices because of Joe Biden. And so he's going to push through this executive mandate like he has, coming after nearly every appliance in our house over the last 6 months, because he knows something as crazy as this won't make it through Congress.
Yeah, I mean, it's outrageous. Even the Democrats, or Joe Manchin, is saying that it's outrageous. So does the EPA have a plan for what they're going to do when they take, 60% of electricity away with this new regulation? Like Todd said, we're going to sit on the floor with candles lit.
Yeah, I don't believe they do. I think they're going to put in a government order for more sun and more wind, maybe try to mandate that there is no such thing as night. They know that their proposed solutions, and I use the term loosely, aren't going to help the United States. And so that's why if this had to be subject to debate or discussion in Congress, then it wouldn't, pass muster at all. And so we have to ask, why does Joe Biden keep doing these things with the stroke of a pen? You said it exactly right. We have 60% of America's electricity generation comes through these types of fuels. Joe Biden wants to either raise massive bills on that generation or have these plants shut down within the next 17 years with no plan to what's going to happen next. He just knows he won't be in office, and so it's not going to be an issue for him.
If these proposals are so popular, why not go through Congress? Mm-hmm. Why act like a dictator? Larry, I don't want to really go through the Chevron doctrine at 4:51 here on a Friday morning. Nobody wants that. But in general, I thought the Supreme Court just recently said that agencies cannot act like this. Doesn't this violate the law?
You're absolutely right. It was less than a year ago when the Supreme Court ruled specifically against the EPA, against doing things like this, against overreaching their authority and taking on powers that Congress never gave them. And so Joe Biden decided, we're just going to ignore that Supreme Court ruling. As I know you guys talk about Title 42 and all these other things, it's really interesting to watch the Biden administration just pick and choose which laws they want to ignore to push their radical agenda. And, the question has to be asked, is Joe Biden doing this in the midst of his reelection campaign because he's going to want a lot of green, not about the environment, but all those dollars for his campaign?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many other things like the border, like the crime crisis, like the drug crisis. If they would put as much energy into those things as they have their climate agenda, which seems to be like a PR campaign and nothing more, we would be a lot better off. Tell us how this could affect and how it will ultimately affect national security.
Absolutely. When we look at where we get our electricity, that is foundational to the way we run our society. Yet Joe Biden is pushing us towards unreliable intermittent sources such as wind and solar. And those products that capture the sun and the wind are made mostly in China. It just has to be said. And so when he passes $369 billion in the Inflation Reduction Act, you have to ask yourself how much of that money is heading to China for these companies in this country that is operating with questionable human rights and environmental records. And, oh, by the way, sends balloons over our airspace. It empowers our adversaries when we undermine American energy. We've seen it with oil. Now he's trying to do it with our electricity, and Americans aren't happy about it.
In preparation for this segment, much like O.J. searching for the real killer, I tried to find a similar proposal in China and India akin to what President Biden is doing. I could not find it. Shocker of all shockers. The main polluters aren't going to be monitoring their pollution. If Biden gets another 4 years, coal is dead. Mark my words. Larry Behrens, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well.